Good afternoon. My name is Konstantin Atroschenko, and I'm following the master course in the group of Prof. Enzo Palmieri. Today I want to speak about the presence of residual tin drops in thermally diffused niobium-3 tin. Much better. So, in our work, we use the liquid tin diffusion method for obtaining the niobium-3 tin coatings. Liquid tin diffusion is a method of obtaining the superconductive A15 niobium-3 tin coating over the 6 GHz cavities or other substrates. The sense of the method is that the bulk niobium 6 GHz cavity is introduced into the molten tin. It's the first step, dipping, and after it follows the heat treatment, that is annealing step. There are a few advantages of the liquid tin diffusion method. They are, first of all, it's a relatively cheap technique. Also, the film is stoichiometry pretty uniform. The method can be used for covering surface of wide and complex shaped substrates. And also the very important advantage is that we don't need to manipulate dangerous substance as tin chloride to create inoculation centers, and the diffusion process is considerably faster. Here just a slide that we can see a 6 GHz cavity that is ready for treatments. Here is our experimental stand. I will try to be very brief. So, we have an Inconel chamber. Inconel is chosen because of its stability of the high pressure, high process temperature. Inside the chamber, we can see an aluminum crucible with the molten tin inside. Here is the cavity. It is fixed on the linear feed-through that can move up and down. It is coolant water to prevent damage of pumping, and that's all. But there are a few great problems of this technique. First of all, the problem of the residual drops of the tin on the bent parts of the cavity. You can see it on the picture. Tin is marked by red color. Another big problem is using of external furnace. The point is that the maximum temperature that we can use with external furnace is 1200 degrees centigrade. But it is just the temperature of the furnace. And we have, first of all, a layer of air, the wall of the chamber, and the wall of the crucible inside. So in fact, the temperature inside the crucible is much, much lower than the temperature of the heater. Also, the problem is the diffusion of contamination through the wall of the chamber at high temperatures. So that's why we decide to study the different kinds of surface treatment and how it influences into the problem of residual drops. Here's just a slide that we can see the pictures of residual tin. On the cavity external surface, we can see tin here, and the internal surface. This is a layer of the tin on the iris part of the cavity and the droplets of the tin on the cell part of the cavity. To make our researchers a little bit cheaper, we decide to design the L samples. That is made from niobium, and they are imitating the shape of the cavity, as you can see on the picture. Each sample was treated basically with a few treatments, like a mechanical treatment with abrasive paper to reduce the residual roughness after machining. And after it, the basic chemical treatments, that is this treatment that you can see here. So, first of all, we decide to study the influence of the glow discharge process. We discharge the surface of the sample with plasma discharge in the glow regime. Here we can see is our chamber. It is inside is the sample. For creating the magnetic field, we use external coil. Here is the parameter of the process and the procedure. After glow discharge, all samples was dipped to the molten tin and annealed with external furnace with 1000 degrees centigrade. This is the sample that is fixed on the flange with use of the niobium rod, which is covered with ceramic tubes to prevent the discharge of the feed-through. It's just a picture of discharge. And this is the result. This is a sample after glow discharged, and this is a sample after dipping and annealing at 1000 degrees. As we can see, the result was not so good. We can see the residual layer of the tin on the sample. After it, we decided to study the influence of anodization. We anodized the sample with ammonium citrate with a voltage of 20 volts. The result was like this. The sample after anodization. And this is the same sample after dipping and after annealing. And as you can see, all is the same. We didn't solve the problem. After it was chemical etching. We etch the sample with the use of this solution. It is almost the same as the BCP solution, but without the hydrophosphoric acid, which is a buffer. With the use of etching, it's a pity, but the result was also bad. And then we decided to cardinally change the annealing technique. And we input the heater into the chamber. So here in this table we can see the comparison of two kinds of annealing, internal furnace and external furnace. As you can see, the maximum temperature that we can reach with internal furnace is more than 2000 degrees centigrade, and external is only 12. Diffusion of contamination through the wall of the chamber. Of course, here no, because the chamber is cold. And in this case, we can, this problem is present. With the using of internal furnace, we can use the stainless steel chamber, and here only the Inconel chamber. Time of heating to 100 degrees centigrade, here is less than 5 minutes, and here it's 3 hours. And of course, cooling. Internal furnace doesn't require cooling. Here is just a little sketch, the cross-section of our system. We can see the chamber. Here is pumping. It is a heater unit, feed-through, and the samples, which is fixed on the feed-through with using of niobium wire. Mention that here is hot zone, but here it's cold zone. It's very important. It's just a picture of our stand, temperature control unit, baking control unit, and the vacuum chamber. And that is the result that we obtain. On the upper line, we can see the sample that was annealed at 13 degrees centigrade for 5 minutes. And on the lower line, we can see the sample that was annealed at 1000 degrees centigrade for 4 hours. As you can see, the result is of using the internal furnace is much better. But it was only beginning of our work, so in future we have to define the optimal parameters of high temperature annealing, temperature, time of annealing, etc. Also, we have to do all the RF tests, SEM measurements, profilometric measurements, and start covering of 6 GHz cavities. That's all. Thank you.